All right, everyone, settle in. Welcome. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most fascinating and socially powerful parts of the Indian Constitution, Article 18. And trust me, this isn't just some dry, dusty legal clause. No, this is about the very blueprint for a society that wants to be built on equality. So let's jump right in.
So let's start with a hypothetical that's actually not so hypothetical. Imagine a celebrated Indian author or a brilliant scientist is offered a knighthood by the British Crown. Can they accept it? Can they become Sir so-and-so? The answer is buried deep inside Article 18, and by the time we're done here, you'll know exactly what it is, and more importantly, why.
So here's how we're going to break it all down today. First, we'll look at the history. Why was this even necessary? Then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of the law itself. We'll explore the huge debate between what's an honor and what's a title, check out what the Supreme Court had to say, touch on the rules for foreign awards, and then wrap it all up with a review for your exams. Sound good? Let's go.
Okay, first things first. With any piece of law, you can't just read the words. You have to understand the world that created it. You have to ask, what problem was this law trying to solve? So let's rewind the clock and see why India's founders were so dead set on getting rid of titles.
You have to picture British India, right? The British were masters at creating a system of control. And one of their best tools? Titles. They handed out honors like Sir, Rai Bahadur, and Khan Bahadur. Now, these weren't just fancy name tags. Oh no, they were instruments of power. They created a whole new nobility, a privileged class that reinforced hierarchy and was just fundamentally anti-democratic. So when the framers of the Constitution were building a new nation, they saw these titles as relics of a feudal past they wanted to leave behind for good. They put Article 18 in there to complete what we call the Equality Code. That's Articles 14 to 18, the bedrock of equality in India. The goal was simple, but radical. Build a society where your status comes from what you do, not from a title you're given. All right, let's get into the text itself. Article 18 is short, but believe me, it packs the punch. For any exam, you have got to know its 4 distinct clauses. Think of them as 4 pillars, all holding up the same roof of equality. Okay, let's break this down clause by clause. Clause 1 is a direct order to the Indian state. You will not create any new titles. Simple as that. Clause 2 is aimed at the citizens. You are forbidden from accepting a title from another country. This isn't a suggestion, it's an absolute ban. Then you have clauses 3 and 4, which lay out the rules for non-citizens and really anyone holding a government job. They need the president's green light before they can accept foreign titles or even expensive gifts. It's basically a firewall to prevent foreign influence and stop a new hierarchy from sneaking in through the back door. Now, the framers weren't naive. They knew society needs to recognize excellence. So Article 18 very cleverly carves out 2 exceptions right from the start. The state is allowed to give out military distinctions for bravery, think of the Param Vir Chakra, and academic distinctions, like an honorary doctorate. The thinking here is key. These aren't titles that create a social class. They are awards that recognize genuine merit and achievement. And that brings us right to the heart of the legal drama. You see, after independence, India started giving out its own national awards, the Bharat Ratna, the Padma Awards, and so on. And this sparked a huge debate. People started asking, wait a minute, are these just new titles with a different name? Is the government violating its own constitution? This became a really big deal. So the whole case hinges on this one critical difference. A title, in the constitutional sense, is something that gives you a special status. Maybe it's even hereditary, and it creates a formal social ladder. Think Raja or Sir. A national honor, on the other hand, is supposed to be different. It's a recognition of achievement based on merit. It doesn't come with any special legal perks or privileges. It's an award, not a rank. Well, this argument went back and forth for years, until it finally landed in the lap of the Supreme Court. The case you absolutely positively have to know is Balaji Raghavan versus Union of India from 1996. This case is the one that settled the debate once and for all. And there it is, the money quote. The Supreme Court laid it down in no uncertain terms. National honors are not the same as the titles that Article 18 prohibits. This ruling became the definitive statement on the matter, the legal precedent that everyone follows to this day. But here's the brilliant part. The Supreme Court didn't just give a thumbs up and walk away. They laid down some really important ground rules. They said, look, these awards are okay because they aren't titles of nobility. They don't give you any special perks, and they certainly don't get passed down to your kids. And here's the kicker.
the one you absolutely have to remember. The recipient cannot, under any circumstances, use it as a prefix or a suffix to their name. The award is a recognition, it's an honor, but it is not part of their name. It's a subtle but absolutely crucial distinction.
Okay, pens down for a second, listen up. If there's one and only one case you take away from this lecture today, it is Balaji Raghavan. This is a 5-star, must-know, will be on the exam precedent. It's the key that unlocks how we understand Article 1.8 in the modern era. Got it? Good. Now, let's swing back to that international angle we started with. We know what the Indian state can and can't do, but what happens when another country wants to give an award to an Indian citizen? What are the rules then?
This table lays it out pretty clearly. Look at that top row. For any Indian citizen, accepting a foreign title, like that knighthood we talked about, is absolutely forbidden, period. End of story. But accepting a foreign present or a gift is generally okay. Now, the rules get a lot tighter if you hold a government office, as you can see. To avoid any whiff of a conflict of interest, you need the president's permission to accept pretty much anything valuable from a foreign power.
Just one last little clarification, this one coming from the Satish Kumar case. It's an important point. The court said that Article 18 is a leash on the state. It stops the government from creating a new aristocracy. It doesn't necessarily make it illegal for someone to use a traditional social honorific in their private life, although, it's definitely against the spirit of the Constitution. It's a fine line, but an important legal one. Okay, take a deep breath. We have journeyed through history, dissected the law, and walked through a landmark Supreme Court case. Now, let's bring it all home. We're going to wrap this up with a rapid-fire review of everything you need to ace this topic.
This is it, the whole lecture, boiled down. Article 18 is about getting rid of hereditary titles to build an equal society. It makes an exception for military and academic awards that are based on merit. The landmark case, Balaji Raghavan, says national honors are perfectly fine, as long as, and this is critical, you don't attach them to your name. And don't forget that absolute total ban on foreign titles for Indian citizens. This slide right here, this is your study guide.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. The law has officially wiped out state-given titles, but did it succeed in its mission? Does getting rid of formal titles on paper actually create a truly equal society? Or do new, informal kinds of status and hierarchy just pop up to take their place? That right there is the bigger question Article 18 asks us to think about long after the final exam is done. Class dismissed.